everybody. Today we'll talk about Mendelssohn Scherzo from the Midsummer Night's Dream, the orchestral excerpt, page 1 for viola. Well, what a difficult piece this is. We must have a really light stroke, beautiful bow control, and a good sense of time. So let's take a look at that. Well, the first line is complicated because they're double stops, so it actually sounds like this. There are many ways one can play this in an audition. Some people play the bottom note only. Some people play the top note only. Some people play the double stops. I decide that playing the double stops can be tricky because if you play a little bit out of tune or the double stop doesn't work, then that's not too good. So I generally just play the top note of this, which is just an open D. So what's very important here is that bow control and the timing. For the bow, I try to keep the bow very low to the string. After we play the 8th note at the beginning, the tendency is to lift the bow too high and have to drop the bow. So instead, I make sure I keep the bow very low. Like so. Even on the string. The dynamic written here is piano. If we play too softly, it's too hard to control, and then when we get to a pianissimo, the pianissimo is impossible to play. So when we start, don't be afraid to play a little bit more than you think a piano is, so that we can adjust for dynamics later. Like so. If I put the metronome on, let's see, I'll take a tempo of 82 for the piece for now. 80 to 84 is a good speed, so I'm going to play at 82 for this video. I turn the metronome on. I make sure that my beats are very together with the metronome. Always feeling the movement. The next little phrase is tricky because of the string crossing, so I keep my bow very close to the string when crossing strings. So even though I'm bouncing a little bit, when I cross the strings, I'm going to try to stay on the string. Like so. The next part, we have these little accents on the A. This piece is about fairies in the forest, based on the William Shakespeare story of Midsummer Night's Dream. And so we're talking about fairies, little light characters that dart from one place to the other. It's bubbly, effervescent, it's fun. So when we have an accent, it's not a big accent, it's a bubbly accent. So I always think of an up accent like that. So happy. The next part, we have a crescendo. So I'm going to lead the crescendo. Less, more, more. So 3 different plateaus of sound. Less, little more, little more. So, like that. And then, continuing in the crescendo, we have the same thing 3 times. I'll come down a little bit. When I play the 8th notes, instead of chopping them short, it gets a little bit rough. I use just a little bit more bow to kind of make my sound a little smoother. So even though it's light and bubbly, I'm going to always be trying to smooth out my sound in this piece. Now I have a rest that I need to count out, and then 5 8th notes that I need to play very evenly and very lightly. Different bowings I can use. That's probably a good one. I can start down bow if I don't want to have any 2 up bow moments. It's a little nicer to use an up bow show the beat, and show the beat. So we have a little bit more rhythm. To there now I go, to there now I go. So I have that feel like that. After that, I want to show where the downbeats are, so like so. There's a crescendo here. I generally start the crescendo a little bit on the late side and then bring it into the sforzando coming up. Like so. Be careful here to use an E flat, not an E natural. One comment about the stroke that I use here, it's very much on the string like this. And then I let the bow kind of do its own thing. If I play around right here in the bow, which I think some people say is around the balance point, possibly a little closer to the middle than the balance point, the bow will bounce by itself. Just a little bit. So if you notice, my hair is really, really on the string all the time, but the stick of the bow is bouncing. Like so. And you'll notice when I cross the string, that I use slightly less bow on a string crossing to make sure that I accommodate the crossing smoothly, or else you might get a bump. Like that. It's okay to vary your dynamics slightly. I call it the ribbon effect, where I'm playing like this, little rise, the string crossing, I'll dip down and come back in, so I kind of smooth the string crossings out. Like so. And then when I get to these sforzandi, I want to bring out the sforzandi again in an effervescent way. It's happy. I'm kind of swinging back and forth and enjoying the pulse of the piece and the sforzandis. Now we get to the melody part. So I keep the bow low to the string. We do have this accent there. It's hard because we have to differentiate between a sforzando and a accent. So I think of the sforzando being bow driven, like with a little click of the bow, and the accent being driven by a quick vibrato impulse, like that. So it has a little bit of a left-hand impulse rather than a bow impulse, which would sound like this, which is too heavy for me. I like the left hand. Then, through this next section, I try to keep the bow low. It'll be bouncy. Keep the bow straight, and it's very important when we have the hairpins, the crescendo and diminuendo, to kind of keep on the string and show like that, to show the top of that hairpin, which is the downbeat of the next measure. So like so. Some people use different fingerings. I just stay in first position here. And then I think it's helpful just to stay in first position. It makes the playing easier and I don't have to do too much. So that's what I do. Some people do different things. The only place I really shift is the over here. So don't like to do the crossings there. Then here always think to remember that the violins take over, so they keep playing, so I just pretend that I'm going to keep playing at the end, so I don't rush like that, like so. Let's just talk about practicing this stroke in the middle. If you practice on like a G, you can practice that. That one thing important, the first note is very light. When you do the two up bows here, that you don't clip the second one, but that they're both even. And then like so. It's a wonderful piece. It's very difficult to play, and we need to practice this a lot for good success with the piece. Well, thank you for watching today, and I hope the video is helpful, and until I see you the next time, happy practicing!